Today in News Tech, why niche podcasts can make money. We'll just quickly talk about some of the opportunities that are out there for publishers. So this is the type of stuff that we're talking about. Just the whole distribution model has been disrupted. You just have to accept that. Now we have to work with companies like Google and Facebook to get the word out, but we can still control our information in an independent way. And that's through WordPress blog, publishing episodes to the podcasting apps, decentralizing yourself in that way, just getting at people however they want to get the news. And there's actual money forming in this area. For a long time, podcasting was just almost like a hobby. This is just from yesterday. Publishers are showing how these podcast pennies can turn into big money. The big take home that I got from this article is that if you're a small podcast, like a small niche podcast that's covering a community, that's definitely a niche in and of itself. But I think they're kind of talking about national brands. This is like a B2B energy podcast. So there's different types of niches, but community newspapers across the board are niche publishers, and they don't have huge audiences, but they can still monetize it. What this is saying is you don't want to deal with CPMs. You really don't want to try to sell impressions or use some kind of ad network. You want to just make a deal with an engaged sponsor and really make them a part of the show, make it like a native sponsorship, maybe interview them on your podcast, just really do a nice job. And these people are making thousands of dollars per episode, and they only get about 1,000 downloads per episode. So this is actually from one of our friends on Twitter, Peter Houston. We follow each other. He's one of the hosts of the Media Voices podcast, which is one of the biggest podcasts in our industry today. Because it is a niche audience focusing on news and news technology and journalism, they're not seeing more than 1,000 per listen and 3,500 max on one episode. So these are the types of numbers that can generate thousands of dollars per episode if you can really sell the whole exclusive sponsorship that you can give an advertiser. It's not pre-rolls, though. That's the take home that I got from this. It's not like a pre-recorded ad that you just play at the beginning of your podcast. You've really got to bring them into the show. And so like with Today in News Tech, we're demonstrating this concept constantly. We are sponsored by our hometown. So we're demonstrating our hometown products. We're talking about the news in the industry. We're talking about Twitter and stuff happening in the UK with Press Gazette. We're using our tools to tell the story. So if you could do something creative like that with your sponsor, that's what people really want to pay for. For example, the Media Voices podcast, if they were using audio articles on their website, that would be great exposure for us. So you just need to get creative these days, and the money's there.
Matt, was anything mentioned, because it sounds like you're talking basically about synergy.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if, because I've seen a few things where there's been some cooperative buildings between local newspapers and local TV stations that kind of do the same kind of back and forth of resource sharing and revenue sharing to a certain degree that could help someone launch a podcast like what you were describing.
That's an interesting idea. I can't say I have a lot of experience talking to publishers actually doing that. I do have the experience of seeing the network effect of partnering with other organizations that maybe have a head start in audio, or it could even just be like a local blogger or a local podcaster that's actually ahead of you as a newspaper because they've been doing it for like 10 years and they were just the first one to do a local podcast. But to partner up with these organizations definitely would give them legitimacy to be associated with the newspaper, and it gets you part of their audience. So you just want to be open to these cross-pollinizations as much as possible. And that's something we're going to be getting more into in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be scheduling some more interviews with the people that we've been reporting on in these stories. And we get their attention through Twitter and other social media by mentioning them. They see our first story on them, and then we do like a follow-up. It's kind of our model. Today in News Tech, the podcast covering innovation in digital journalism. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast apps. We'll see you tomorrow.
At our hometown, we help newspapers build WordPress websites, design native apps, and develop digital subscription models. If you are interested in a free prototype of your publication on WordPress, go to ourhometown.com and click the Contact Us button.